It's Steven. If you're looking to travel this year, but you don't have the budget quite yet, well, don't worry, I got you covered. Here are 5 countries, cheap countries to go and travel to if you're trying to travel on a budget. Starting off at number 5, we've got Thailand. Thailand is a very beautiful country, I think everybody knows that, but it's also very cheap. The cost of living, or I should say, traveling and staying at a place here in a hostel is only about $25 a night. And then along with that, food is very cheap. For 3 meals a day, you can live off $18. You can get food at food markets, on the street, quality food too. Obviously, Thai food is amazing. I love Thai food. So a very good country if you're looking to eat and sleep for cheap. Transportation in Thailand is also cheap. It's about $12 per day, depending on how much you're traveling. Typically, you're gonna be taking a bus to travel around Thailand. And then along with that, activities are also really cheap. It's going to be about $25 per day, depending on how much you're doing and where you're going. Obviously, entrance fees change during the seasons. There are some seasons, obviously, where there's more travelers, and there's other seasons when there's obviously less travelers. So you can expect around $12 for transportation, $25 for activities. And then finally, we're going to budget about $10 just for miscellaneous expenses. So in total, if you're going to Thailand, you can expect to spend around $90 per day, which is number 5 in this list. Coming in at number 4, and if you haven't been here already, shame on you, the country is Mexico. And this might come to a surprise to some people because Mexico is actually pretty expensive depending on where you go. However, there are still many parts of Mexico that are very cheap, and the one that I'm referring to in particular is Oaxaca, Mexico. Oaxaca is a beautiful part of Mexico and has the best food, by the way. And typically expenses here are extremely low, just like Thailand. I mean, a hostel here or even an Airbnb is extremely cheap. You could expect to pay about $26 per night here in the hostels. And then obviously Mexico is known for its food, and food in Oaxaca is delicious and very cheap. For about 3 meals a day, maybe 4, you can expect to pay around $18, just like in Thailand. The food here can be bought on the street, which is preferred actually. I know because I've been to Oaxaca and the food is actually better, the street food is better than the restaurant food. But if you do go to the city of Oaxaca, Oaxaca City, which is the capital of Oaxaca, you definitely need to go try a restaurant called Don Juanitos. It's excellent. The best tacos not the best tacos I've ever had, but the second best. I've had better ones in San Luis Potosí, but that's besides the point. $18 per day for 3 meals. You can get food at food markets, street foods, and also like family restaurants are super cheap. For transportation in Oaxaca, typically you're gonna be taking a taxi, and you can budget around $7 a day for taxis. They're very cheap. This also depends on how much you're traveling during the day. So obviously that can be a lot higher if you're traveling more, or a lot less if you're preferring to walk or take a bike. And then finally, for activities, you can budget around $17. There's gonna be obviously expenses with entrance fees and souvenirs and all sorts of other things that go along with activities. So about $17 per day, and then finally budgeting $10 for any miscellaneous expenses. So in total, you can expect to pay about $80 a day if you're in Oaxaca, Mexico, which is at number 4 on our list. Coming in at number 3 on our list, we've got Vietnam. Just like Thailand, Southeast Asia, relatively cheap and a beautiful place to visit. Along with that, great food. You can expect to pay about $23 a night to stay here. Typically, you're gonna be staying in a hostel or a guest house for something that cheap. Just like your accommodation expenses, you can expect your food to be cheap as well. For 3 meals a day, you can expect to pay about $18, and that is gonna be primarily based on food that you can find in street markets. Vietnam has amazing street food, and again, $18 a day, very cheap, and very tasty, by the way. For transportation in Vietnam, you can expect to pay about $12, and your primary method of transportation is going to be the bus. And then for activities, you can expect to pay about $17 per day, and again, that's just entrance fees and other fees that go along with activities. Finally, we're gonna budget $10 for miscellaneous expenses, and that's gonna bring our total daily expenditure to $80 per day if you're going to Vietnam. Very cheap, beautiful country, great food, highly recommend it. Coming in at number 2, it is a very overlooked and underestimated country, very beautiful country too, by the way, Nicaragua. Nicaragua is a very cheap place to go and visit. You can expect your accommodation to be about $20 per night, and then again, the method of choice is going to be hostels. Your meals here are going to be very cheap as well. You can expect to pay $15 for an entire day. That's 3 meals, and your primary choice of getting those meals is going to be restaurants rather than street food. The restaurants are very cheap in Nicaragua. For transportation, you're going to be taking taxis, and it's going to be about $8 per day, and you can expect to budget about $17 per day for activities as well. And then finally, $10 per day for any miscellaneous expenses. This brings our total to $70 per day when traveling in Nicaragua, making it the second cheapest country on our list. Finally, number 1, the cheapest country to visit, and again, one that's definitely overlooked by many, is the country of Bolivia. Bolivia has many fantastic sites to offer for tourists, and their most popular is their salt flats, which are basically thermal waters that you can swim in if you'd like. And it's a very weird phenomenon that occurs just in a few parts of the world, and Bolivia happens to be one of them. For accommodation, you can expect to pay about $17 per night. Pretty cheap. Again, you're gonna be staying in a hostel. Food is extremely cheap in this country. $8 per day is what you're gonna budget, and that's for 3 meals, and those are gonna be your basic restaurants. For transportation, you're gonna be taking buses, and that's gonna be about $7 per day. And then activities, you can budget around $18 per day for that. And then finally, again, $10 for any miscellaneous expenses per day. And that's gonna bring our total daily expenditure to $60 a day, making it the cheapest country to visit in the world. That's safe to visit. I did not obviously include countries that are not safe. So Bolivia, highly recommend if you wanna go somewhere cheap, that's fun, that's safe, and it is number 1 on the list for a reason. Extremely cheap. I mean, food, $8 a day, come on, where can you find that? You can't find that anywhere else. So those are the 5 countries you need to visit if you're trying to go somewhere cheap, if you're on a budget. My name is Steven, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.